Well, again, my name is Xiang Shen, and I'm a developer advocate working on the Google GEO APIs. And today I'm going to talk about Maps APIs on mobile. Alan earlier mentioned about how mobile is a big trend. And can we have a show of hand? How many people interested about it to write a mobile application? Okay, a few. Given the trend, I think probably everybody will be thinking about writing a mobile application pretty soon. And mobile is actually a very natural thing for Geo, for Google Maps, for example, because with the mobile phone, it has the GPS, and everything has the the location signature. So it's really a very easy combination to have a mobile application, where you would need services like Google Maps. So that's what we're going to talk about. So my agenda today is that first I'm going to have a quick overview of mobile mapping options and highlight some of the pros and cons, and then the second part I'm going to highlight the recommended approach, which is to embed a JavaScript API inside a native mobile application, and I'm going to show you how to do it on Android as well as on iPhone, and the third part of my talk today. We'll take a deep dive into the JavaScript API and show you a lot of the cool features in this API. Well, mobile mapping options, there are a lot of them. The easiest way, if you have a mobile app, you can just simply have a link, open up a browser, and there you have it. Or you can use something called a static maps API, which is a RESTful API that you can specify location, latitude, longitude, and the size of the image, and there you have a mapping image file. Or you can use the so-called native APIs. On iPhone, there is the MapKit library, and on Android, there's the MapView library that you can use. So these APIs will give you better integration with the device. We're going to talk about that in detail later. The last option is that you have the super good, super awesome JavaScript API, which the current version we have is V3. That API, we specifically designed it for mobile application. So that way you can take your mapping application outside the mobile, and then you write a native application and point directly to that. So before we jump into it, this is an overview of Google Maps APIs. This is the whole stack of Google Maps APIs. So we have JavaScript V3, V2. V3 is the default version. We have a whole bunch of services here, geocoding, elevation, and directions. And we also support Maps API for Flash and the static Maps APIs. And on the right column here, and we're continuing to develop more features. Fusion Table is a new one. Latitude is more like a social API. And we're continuing to work on this Ajax search APIs. And we also just launched Maps API Premier in Indonesia. So that's when if you want something that's not just the free API, but you want like service level agreement or SSL, and you would use the Maps API Premier. So the first option is to simply open up a link to a map inside a browser. But the trouble with that approach is that if you have an external browser that's sort of external to your mobile application, the look and feel doesn't look quite right, because it kind of takes you away from the native application. Or you could use this static maps API. This is particularly handy if you have a mobile device like a BlackBerry or some other ones that does not quite support a full-fledged browser. In this case, you could just use the static maps API to get an image tile, and you can specify the position, the size, for example here, the size, the position, the latitude, longitude, and the zoom level, and there you have the image. So that's a quick and easy way that you can have map image tiles inside your mobile app. The native APIs on Android, pretty straightforward to do. You just basically all the heavy lifting is already done for you with this map view library. So you just extend your class from this map activity class. And right away, you have all the functionality from this library, and you have a Google Map on your mobile device. Same thing for iPhone. You basically, again, the heavy lifting is done for you with the map kit. All you need to do is extend that class. Here are the pros and cons. If you do it with the native app and using native APIs, it does have the look and feel of of a native app. So it's really good. And you can also take advantage of the distribution channel. The iPhone App Store and the Android Marketplace. It's got millions of users, so you can easily distribute your application through these channels. And you've got a better integration with the device sensors. The trouble is that if you go down this route, you have to maintain multiple code bases. You have to maintain one for Android, another one for iPhone. And the ongoing support is also an issue. And if say, you make any change to your mapping functionalities, your users won't get it unless they reinstall the application. So that's another problem. And the last thing is that a lot of the cool features we have for Maps API, they're not really available in Map View or Map Kit, because these APIs are not really maintained and developed very actively. So here is a diagram, a matrix of comparison of various features. You can see that you can do the basic things with all these approaches. You can create a map, add a marker, do geocoding. But if you want to do what we call like for example styled map, or directions, or street view. Thanks. Then you won't be able to take advantage of all these features in the V3 JavaScript V3 API. So that's why we recommend that you use this sort of what we call a hybrid approach. So what you do is you develop a native application, but inside this native application, you use something called embedded browser. With the embedded browser, either on Android or iPhone, you can point to your mapping feature, where basically you are developing a web application using JavaScript API v3. So that's the idea. If you do that, then you basically can take advantage of the best of both worlds, because you have the best of feature sets, as well as you have the distribution channel through the native app stores, and so you get everything what you exactly want. Let's see how we can do that. Well, JavaScript API v3 is really easy. Doing a quick map is really easy. All you need to do is here is the code snippet how to do it. You specify a point, for example, latitude, longitude, and you specify a set of options, a zoom level, the position of the center of the map, and you specify, like in this case, the road map. It could be road map, or it's a satellite image, and then you just say Google Map.map, and there you have the map. So your map will look like this. Okay, so it's very straightforward, typical JavaScript v3 map. How do we embed that map inside an Android application? To do that, all we need to do is create a native application. In this case, it's a very simple native application. You extend it from this class activity, which is a generic sort of Android class. And then you specify an instance of so-called embedded browser, web view. You point your URL of that to whatever you want, where you have your mapping application, and then you just go ahead and load it. Once you do that, here is what it looks like in Android Eclipse. So here I'm pointing to a map where I have a bunch of markers indicating, representing the subways in New York City, and with my image, with my profile picture close to Google Office there. Same thing for iPhone. If you want to do it in iPhone, again, you instantiate an instance of embedded web browser. And when you load the application, you point your URL to this to where you have the map. And when you load it, you just say, go ahead and load this map. Okay? So this is what it looks like in in the Xcode emulator. So let me just go ahead and try to show you how it works in this. As you can see that I have a whole bunch of URL. Basically, it's a simple native application with a bunch of URL that I'm pointing to in the embedded browser. So if I just run this code, I can basically change the URL in the background, or in reality, you would be basically adding new features to your mapping application. When you do that, you don't have to come back and have users reinstall the native application. It's running a little slow. So you can see that I have a whole bunch of URLs. Now I'm pointing at this New York City subway. Let me try again. Well, okay. Maybe it's not working. Trust me. So when it's working, it's supposed to look like this. Okay, so let me just summarize. The idea is to develop a native application and have an embedded browser inside, and then point your browser at the map where you use JavaScript v3 to develop your mapping features. Okay, so next let me dig into the JavaScript v3 and see what cool features we have there. So that's what we're going to take an in-depth look. Well, developers, we all love coffee. We all work a lot of long hours, but the trouble is sometimes it's difficult to find coffee. So what we're going to use as an example is to combine Google Maps with coffee, and then we get a great application. So here is a Google Map. I also have some T-shirts to give away, so there will be some questions, and if you get it right, you get a T-shirt. So let's just get the maps basic nailed. This is a typical Google Map, and you see a lot of markers. You see navigation control, map type control. And can somebody tell me what is this Google logo? What do you call that in Google Maps terminology? Go ahead. Yes, exactly. Info window. Well, I guess usually people say that's a pop-up window, but in Google Maps terminology is the info window. So you combine Google Maps with great coffee, we get something awesome. The sample application we're trying to show is this. It's basically it's an application that allows us to find where is the best coffee. So when we move around, for example, if you know where they are, you can also add where is the best coffee shop. Okay, so that's the idea. So it has a few things that we're going to highlight. We're going to learn. The key concepts we're going to learn is here. First, we need to learn how to create a map. Okay. Next, we need to geolocate where the user. If user is using your application holding a mobile phone, the user has to. We have to find out where that user's location. So that's one key concept. Then we need to do simple things like put a marker on there or do custom marker, or we can do some custom overlays or custom controls. I'm going to touch on the event handling in JavaScript. Where we're going to use Ajax and callback functions. I think Arnie talked about that in his talk. And geocoding, geospatial search. In this case, which would be like when you load this application, it's loading all the best coffee shops surrounding that user's location. So this is where there's going to be this topic of geolocation, geospatial search. The last thing is the so-called direction service. So how do we create this map? It's pretty straightforward. So in your HTML, you just say, you declare a div. Say in this case, I call that map. And you can do whatever CSS to that particular div. And once you have that, in your JavaScript, you first specify that you want to use JavaScript v3, version 3. And then when you, in your init function, when your document finishes loading, you basically specify, I touched on that earlier, that you specify the zoom level, the center of the map, latitude, longitude, and then you just load it. So once you have that map, the same map can be embedded inside a mobile application, like I mentioned earlier. So next concept is geolocation. How do we do that? Luckily, the W3C already has a standard, a geolocation standard. All you need to do is, when the browser supports that, all you need to do is call this function called get current position, and that'll return the position of the user. Once you get hold of that, you can do whatever with it. In this case, in this particular case, we're basically setting the map to that particular position. What if we want to add a marker? So now the user is using our app, and we've identified the location. We want to put a marker there. It's, again, very easy. So you just declare a marker, and then you just set the position of the marker. After that, you attach the marker to the map. The reason we did this in v3, as opposed to in the previous one, is that in v3, the JavaScript v3 version is optimized for mobile application. So in this case, we separated a lot of the heavy libraries into basically components. So when you don't need it, you don't have to load it. Next thing we want to do is to do some custom markers. So what if I don't want the standard map pin? We want to use a custom image. How do we do that? All you need to do is declare a marker image with your own icon. And then when you declare your marker, you just say your icon is this particular one. Okay, then you'll have it. What if I want to do an overlay on top of the map? So can somebody tell me what kind of overlay is this? T-shirt. Nobody? Go ahead. What? Louder? Proximity? No, this one. Do you see this one here? What kind of overlay? Who said that? Circle. It is a circle overlay. Yes, somebody, can we pass it over? It's a circle, right? Pretty obvious. Well, we define the names in a very intuitive way. So you can have a lot of parameters you can specify. You can specify the color, the opacity, things like that. And what you do need to do is to bind that circle, that overlay to the marker. So the effect of that is that when you're moving around, that overlay is attached to that marker. So next thing I'm going to talk about is custom controls. Like I've had partners, they're interested in adding like a street view of their own. We have a street view already, or some other things. Like in this case, you just want to put a button here, and but you want to specify your own color. Do customization of that button. How do you do that? A little bit of CSS magic. You can do exactly what you want. Basically, you specify what type of, the details for that button. You can mimic the standard map type button to make it look exactly the same, or you can choose different color scheme. So that's how you do it. So what we've got so far, we've got like a marker here, a custom marker. We've got a custom control. We've got geolocation, on top of all the basic Google Map. Okay. Now we want to do a little bit something fancier. Okay. So next thing, like you remember from the beginning, that the application we were looking at, it allows you to add a coffee shop of your own, right? So when you click on that coffee shop, something is happening. I'll show you the example here. Like if I click on this coffee shop, it pops up a info window. But this time it's got a form in there, so you can specify the name of the coffee shop. And you can also choose any point on the map to click. And basically it puts a marker at the point where you clicked it, and it allows you to add a coffee shop at that particular location. So how does that work? When you do that, it's doing something like called event handler, right? So here I have two of them. One is that if you click on this button, it's calling this function called a show new shop form. It's showing that an info window with the form inside. Or if you click on anywhere on the map, it's resetting the position of that, that form. So these two are so-called event handlers that in JavaScript that you can do. Once you have that, now the next thing you want to do is that here's the next question. Let me just close this and do it one more time. What happened? So I click on this one. It's showing the info window, but you see the address is not filled. Earlier it was showing the address at that particular point. Can somebody answer for me that what it's doing behind the scene? Geocoding, yes. What kind of geocoding? Well, what's happening is that it's taking that point where you click on it, right? It's taking the point with that latitude and longitude, and then it's converting it into an address. So it's doing what we call reverse geocoding. The regular the forward geocoding is that you enter an address, and then it'll give you latitude and longitude. So here it's doing a geocoding. How do we do that? Well, in our API, we have a geocoding service. So what you need to do is to take that point, and you send a request by calling this function called geocode. You get a response back from our servers, and like here we are checking that the status is okay, and we take the results with that formatted address, and we just paste it into that address box inside the info window. So that wraps up the concept of reverse geocoding. Now what if you want to save it, right? Like here, like I click on this one. Maybe internet is not working. What if you create, you want to add a shop, a coffee shop, and you want to save it back into the back end. So in this case, you click a button, say add shop, and that data will be passed to server somewhere. Could be your own server. It'll be saved somewhere. And once it's saved, you want to be able to show a custom, icon. So basically, what's happening behind the scene? There are two steps. Like here, I basically have some comments to indicate what we're doing. This function called save shop. What we need to do is first get the position of that point, along with the name of the shop, other whatever data or parameters we are capturing, and we need to, for example, we could do it with the AJAX call, and send AJAX call to the backend server of your own, and you can save that data and then return a status code of OK. Once that data has been saved, now you take a callback function that'll put a marker on the map. So let's try it here. So here, if I just say BBB, and I give it a rating of 5. I say add. Didn't quite work. Huh. Internet is plugged in. So if I maybe it needs an address. Okay. Well, the idea is that once you click that button, it should save that data and should come back with the coffee shop icon here. Well, next thing I'm going to show is that something is the concept called a geospatial search. When you load up this app, got a question? You think that'll turn it off? Okay, let me see. It's a good idea. Maybe I need to load the page again. Why? Should I just use Wi-Fi instead? Looks like the internet is not connected. Not connected to the net. Using the Google? Oh. So this shows how critical internet is. Okay, looks like we're working again. Okay, so let's pick up where we left. So saving a shop. Let's see if this time it works. Yeah. Okay. Let me just go back again. So here, if I say add, yeah, there it works. Okay. So that's the idea. You click on the ad, and it'll send the data back to your server. And if it's a success, it'll come back and allow you to add the icon at the position that you chose. Okay. So we talked about the AJAX and callback functions already. So now let's talk about how do we load all the stores that already been saved. If you load the user's location at this point, and we want to do like a radius search, for example. Okay. So within a mile of within a radius of 10 miles, we want to load all the coffee shops, or there could be the other kind, so-called a bounding box. So what's happening behind the scene is that this function called a load store, when the map loads, we need to send an AJAX call, and the backend server would have to do a search based on the parameters sent to the server. In this case, the parameter would be, say, a point, or if it's not a radius search, it could be a so-called a bounding box search. You basically specify a rectangular region. Both these types of search is what we call a geospatial search. There are a lot of ways of doing it. You can do some Google search and find different ways of doing it. And once that geospatial search is successful, you pass back some kind of status code, and the callback function will actually load all the icons on the map. So that's what we have here. Okay, so that's geospatial search. Next, we're going to talk about getting directions. So here we have all the coffee shops. What if I want to click on one of them and say, from my current location, how do I, say, walk to that shop? So you click on this one, on the directions. Let me try it again. There we have it. Basically, it's using Google Maps direction service, and gives you the routing from your current location to that particular coffee shop. How do we do that? Pretty easy. You create two things. One is direction service. The other one is renderer. Again, it goes back to the V3 design, the architecture of splitting things into components, where it's optimized for mobile application. So you use this direction service to send the request, and when the request returns with the information, in this case we chose the mode of walking, and it returns the results, which basically tells you, how to put the polygons on the map. And then you can take that result and call this function called set directions. Okay, so a few lines of JavaScript, you can do this directions on your map. So this sample application is called Where is Coffee? It's actually hosted on App Engine. It's open sourced. If you search for it, you can find it, and you can play with the code and get all the ideas. I'm showing I'm showing the Sydney office that we have here, because this is where we have a lot of coffee shops already saved. So let's wrap up here. What have we learned so far? We've talked about how to create a map, put markers on it, put overlay, custom control, and we talked about map events, how to do event handling. We talked about how to capture users' location. We talked about how to create a AJAX call to send request back to your server and save the location of coffee shop. We talk about how to do geocoding, the reverse geocoding. We also talk about how to, the idea of what type of geospatial search you can have. And the last thing we talked about was the directions. But that's not the end of Google Maps v3. We have a lot of great things in store for you. We have elevation service. We have styled maps, street view, custom street view, all kinds of goodies coming up. So today I'm only going to be able to show you two more things. The first thing is the styled maps. Basically, it allows you to customize your map anywhere you want. Like you can choose what features you want to show. Like here, I'm just clicking through various ways you can customize your map. You can turn roads off. You can show, for example, only highways. You can show only certain landmarks. You can turn off labels if you don't want it. If you only show country but no roads, you can do that. And you can also change all the color schemes. For example, you can change the saturation, the gamma, everything, and you can use that styled map to match any your company's logo, for example. So that's another way of doing it. I have some examples here. It's pretty easy to do. All you need to do is create a JSON object, and then once you specify that's the style you want to use, there you have your styled map. So next thing I'm going to talk about is custom street view. Street view, probably a lot of people are familiar with street view. If I drag this little pegman down here, it shows me it shows me basically the surrounding area near Google office in Sydney. This is the standard street view. As I move closer to the office here, now you can see there's an entranceway into the office. So if I click on that, it takes me straight inside. How did that work? All you need to do is take some pictures of the office inside, and with a few lines of JavaScript, you have your own custom street view, or indoor street view in this case. So what you need to do is take some high resolution images and put it into a panoramic view and specify the certain zoom level, and you then load your custom tile. You basically need to specify the X and Y, the position of the tile, and the zoom level. So that's what I have for all the goodies of JavaScript v3 map. Let's go back to this one. we continue to innovate, with the V3 API. And this is the timeline of all the goodies we've added last year. The API first went into Google Labs in 2009, and last May we made it official JavaScript V3, the default API for Google Maps. Since then we've added styled maps and Street View. We continue to innovate and iterate on that. So the key takeaways today is that if you want to do a mobile application with map features inside, the recommended way is that you do a native application, and inside the native application you embedded it, you create an embedded browser that points to a web app, which is the Google JavaScript V3 map. And V3 is awesome because it's got a lot of great features, and we continue to innovate and then add more features to it. And hopefully that's the solution for your mapping option for your mobile apps. And with that, I'll open it up with questions.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. ครับสำหรับสรุปเซสชันนี้นะครับก็ขออนุญาตสรุปอย่างรวดเร็วนะครับเพราะเกิดเหตุการณ์ที่ไม่คาดฝันขึ้นนะครับสำหรับเรื่องของ Map API ในมือถือนะครับใน Mobile Application เนี่ยนะครับเนื่องจากว่าตอนนี้มันมีโซลูชันอยู่หลายแบบนะครับไม่ว่าจะเป็นการเปิดเบราว์เซอร์ดูนะครับการเรียก Static API นะครับหรือว่าการที่ถ้าเกิดเป็นแอปเก่าๆอาจจะชอบใช้นะครับการแปะรูปลงไปเฉยๆนะครับแล้วก็มีการทำ native application นะครับใช้ API ที่เป็น native นะครับซึ่งแพลตฟอร์มต่างๆจะมี API พวกนี้เองนะครับถัดมานะฮะก็เป็นทางเลือกนะครับที่ทางชอนเสนอพวกเรานะครับก็คือว่าใช้ hybrid approach นะครับก็คือการสร้างแอปพลิเคชันเนี่ยด้วย native API แต่ใช้ map เป็น JavaScript นะครับโดยการฝังเบราว์เซอร์แล้วก็ใช้งานผ่านเบราว์เซอร์ตรงนั้นนะครับซึ่งก็มีข้อดีหลายอย่างนะครับไม่ว่าจะเป็นโค้ดเบสเฉพาะของตัว map นะครับที่จะเป็นโค้ดเบสเดียวกันไม่ว่าจะเป็นเว็บแอปพลิเคชันเป็นโมบายแอปพลิเคชันนะครับและหลายอย่างนะครับแล้วก็ไม่ต้องรอ native API ให้ support ฟีเจอร์ใหม่ๆนะครับของตัว map service ด้วยนะครับมีคำถามไหมครับ Over there please มีไมค์ไหมครับ
You recommend the hybrid approach, but I think in the mobile, I think you cannot use the pinch to zoom in using the map API, right, in browser.
You cannot use the V3 API?
The pinch to zoom in mobile, like iPhone or Android. Use your finger to zoom in or zoom out.
Oh, the zoom. Some browsers do support it. It's the pinch motion.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
but for the maps.
Right. Some browsers support it, so it does work with the maps embedded inside a browser, and the pinch motion does work.
I just tested.
Oh, which phone did you have?
I have an Android mobile milestone.
Yeah, Android. Some of the Android phones don't work.
Because my phone supports a pinch to zoom in browser, but I think if using the Maps API,
right.
Like I just try open the maps.google.com directly, and
right.
I cannot use the pinch to zoom using my finger. So do you think? What do you think if the user experience in the phone is different from the native apps?
Right, right. It's a good question. It's dependent on the device. Some devices don't work, but a lot of them do. When it doesn't work, it's a bad thing for user experience. People are accustomed to using pinching, zooming like that, and it doesn't work. So if you do it with native, it does work. So that's one advantage of having a native application. Thank you.
I've got a really loud voice. I don't need a microphone. But I'll use it anyway. With Google Maps on mobile applications, is there any way to cache data for the mobile applications? Because people, if they're traveling, let's say outside of the country, it's not always very convenient for them to get mobile data plan in another country. Sometimes virtually impossible.
You mean cache the image tiles, things like that, or?
Yeah, or just some way cache the map data locally on a phone.
Right. Yeah, caching is actually against our terms of service, so we certainly don't recommend that. But on the other hand, for better experience, I can see a good use case for that. I think developers probably should look into it and see what's the best thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, because things like iPads, there's Wi-Fi iPads, and it would be nice if people could cache the data when they go out someplace.
So you mean when you even don't have the wireless connection and you can still show the map?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great, but it's against our terms of service.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
ครับเดี๋ยวขอแปล2คำถามนี้ก่อนนะครับพอดี2คำถามนี้ไปในทางเดียวกันพอสมควรนะครับก็คือว่าคือลักษณะ2คำถามนี้นะครับจะคล้ายๆกันว่ามีบางอย่างนะครับที่เราทำได้โดยการใช้ native API นะครับไม่ว่าจะเป็นเรื่องของ user experience นะครับก็คือว่าเช่นตัวอย่างที่1นะครับเช่นการ pinch to zoom นะครับที่อยู่ในโมบายหลายตัวนะครับถ้าเกิดว่าเป็น native application เนี่ยสามารถ implement ตรงนั้นได้นะครับแต่ถ้าเกิดว่าเป็น JavaScript embedded จะทำได้หรือเปล่านะครับถัดมาก็เป็นเรื่องของการ cache data เอาไว้ถ้าเกิดว่าใช้ native API เนี่ยเราสามารถทำตรงนั้นได้นะครับก็ตรงนี้ก็คงต้องไปทางเรื่องของ developer ว่าจะเลือกพัฒนาอย่างไรนะครับ สำหรับคำถามอื่น
I saw in your roadmap that you have marker performance issues. Hello?
Oh.
And I was wondering what should we do right now? If you have a lot of data a lot of markers to display on the map, do you have any best practice for us to display
there was some issue with the marker performance. We are improving on that. I think we just did a new release that has improved it by quite a bit. We actually have a migration guide. If you search for on the googlecode.google.com, there's a migration guide from V2 to V3. V2, there used to be like a open source libraries that you can do clustering of when you have a lot of markers. V3, I think there are also open source projects like that you can use. I also saw one example. Somebody actually did have like millions of markers on one page covering the entire map. You don't see any Google Maps at all. You only see markers. And it did work. So I mean, I think there's room for improvement, but it does work.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Then next probably the last question for the session. มีคำถามหนึ่งนะครับที่พอดีมาจากทางบ้านนะครับ ขออภัย Well, some people I read in Twitter actually really impressed with the custom street view. But the question is this street view is not yet supported in Thailand, right? So can we work in the custom street view in the countries not supported yet?
Yeah, it's a great question. Some countries love that, but then in some other countries there's a privacy issue, and but seems like developers in general love Street View. So in some countries when there's a privacy issue involved, the workaround that we are working on or we're putting out is that instead of having the standard Street View, we're going to only have a whole bunch of user-generated photos. So that's probably what you might see down the road, instead of having the full-fledged Street View.
Give some more information about Street View in Thailand. We are planning to do this. It's coming, but cannot give the commitment when it is.
Okay. That's good news.